Hello and welcome. My name is Kathleen Miner, founder of Hopefull, Handbags, global nonprofit, and I am here with one of our amazing authors, Brigid Stapleton. She has a chapter in a book that you're going to want to read. It is called Handbags, the book, and the stories in there have really inspired me, so they will inspire you. Welcome, Brigid.
Thank you very much, Kathleen, and thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to speak with you because I've read your story and I found it very inspirational. To be honest, all of the stories in this book are inspirational
Yeah,
and they help us
yeah,
to realize that when we're going through things in life, we've got to keep on moving.
yeah.
Keep on
That's true.
moving. And when I
Yeah,
hear other people's stories, it makes me think about times, or if I'm in a funk or so going through something,
yeah,
thinking, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. This is what they told me, and this is how they've
yeah.
done it. So I just have some questions for you that I thought, I was thinking of when I was reading your story.
Right. Okay.
So you had a challenging diagnosis
Yes,
that
that's
came
right.
into your life. And how did that feel? But also, how did it turn that journey into resilience and personal transformation for you?
Yeah, I think being told more or less that your life is hanging on a thread and you have children, and I just had a baby at the time.
Mm,
I think you find resources deep within you because you're not just thinking of yourself, you're thinking of your children and your baby and what, you know, you'd go through fire for your baby or for your children. So you
mm-hmm.
just pull up all the resources that's inside you, even though it's terrifying and, you have a terrible fear and everything. You just have to find something deep inside yourself. And it made me realize, I remember when I finished all my treatment, and one of my nephews said to me, "How do you feel now that you've finished everything?" I still wasn't out of the woods. I said, "I feel like Wonder Woman." I felt, oh my goodness, I've got this far. And if I can do this, we have women that have great resilience in them. They really, really do. And it's bigger than that they can even realize. And I think when you're faced with a trauma or a situation like that, being faced with death, you just will do all that you can do to stay alive. Not saying that it was all in my power.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in God or a higher power. Some people like to call him, that had a lot to do with in helping me. But I knew I found from great resource inside of myself from deep within that I didn't even know existed. You know, um,
Yeah.
to push forward, to do everything you can to look for answers. So
Mm-hmm.
I did everything that I could. And, one of them was, I felt I was questioning myself, how did I get this? How am I like this? And they told me I was like this for so many years. I wasn't good at reading my own body. I didn't know so I start going back. Where did this come from? How did I get this? Asking questions. I'm feeling guilty that I was faced with death, with cancer. What did I do wrong? So you have all these questions, but I think one of them was, I learned when I started doing research in health and helping myself and health and all that, I learned that from a very young age, from a child, I was running cortisone all through my body all the time because I lived in fear,
Mm-hmm.
fear of my abusers and all of that. So what I did was I faced my fear and I faced my abusers and I spoke to them. And so that got rid of that fear. And I did that so I could heal from cancer, so I could live for my children. And, I never dreamt that I would do that because it was such a big mountain to climb, and then I looked at, what can you do? How can you introduce serotonin into your body? How can you have a healthier lifestyle? So I start looking at that, start looking at what can I do to help myself. And, I read a book which was somebody handed me when I was ill, and it was called Your Life in Your Hands by Jane Plant, who was given, I think, 3 or 5 times, I can't remember which, a diagnosis. And on the last time, she was given 3 months to live. I think it was the 5th time that she was given 3 months to live. And she, as a scientist, said, I'm going to look at this from a scientific point of view. And that's how she wrote her book. So from reading that book, so even reading books can help change your life. But when you're seeking out the information, sometimes it comes to you. So I read that book, and so I changed my diet, changed everything. I gave up dairy. For me, I think is a big thing. And so I did all of that. And that's what really, made me change from within. I started to feel not try not to be negative, because I knew being negative caused cortisol to run through my body. And I tried to be positive, whether I felt it or not. I tried to have gratitude in my life. And I started to put up, say, different verses on the table, on the dinner table. I'd put them up on a stand. Like I have one on a blackboard that says what love is. Love is patient, love is kind. So I did these things to remind myself of how we can help ourselves. And, the words that we look at are words that we see can be very powerful, I think, like, so they're the things that helped me, or that's how I felt. Oh my goodness, there's a lot more inside me that I didn't realize was there, and in all of us.
So you came from, you were in this. And so did you start to come up with all these things? You were reading the book, you were starting to change things while you were healing and while you were going through your journey of cancer?
Yes. I had a brother that died a year before me when I was diagnosed, and they told me there was no hope. There was very little hope, and they would give me aggressive treatment, and hopefully that would give me a chance. So, while I was going through that, like I was a year on treatment. So while I was going through that, it was then, and the kind of, because I was looking for answers myself, and my oncologist, now this is 20 odd years ago, my oncologist did say something to me that struck me. He said, look, take as much vegetables as you can, take as much greens as you can, drink green tea, do all these will help your immune system. And that's the first time I heard a doctor say anything like that. So that kind of says, well, let me look at the immune system. Let me look at, this sort of thing, and nutrition. I had already had an organic hair salon, so I knew about organic and nutrition, but I didn't know the effect it could have, that it did have. So it was through reading. When I started looking, the answers were coming to me, like the answers in that book. It was a friend brought the book to me and said, this lady was on national television. She wrote a book, and I just thought of you, and here's her book, And I spent one day, all day. I went out for the day, and for the whole day, and I had my lunch and dinner and supper in a restaurant come pub, and spent the whole day reading the book. And I thought it was so powerful that it gave me power, that I could have a chance on living if I was to do what this lady did. So reading a book can be powerful, and then to help change things. There's a lot of other books that I read as well that helped me, on my journey. A book I read was The Wounded Heart by Dr. Lloyd, or I forget a second name, The Wounded Heart. So he gave advice on how to talk to your abusers, how to deal with them, how to talk to them, and all of that. But, so that helped in that area.
So you felt, so what I'm gathering here is, well, a couple of things, and they all lead to positivity and basically getting rid of baggage. Let's just put it that way, right?
Yeah.
So, and you're saying that that's when you started thinking positively, putting the signs around your place, which it sounds like you still have them there today, or different ones.
Yeah,
You changed them out. You'll have to
I
tell
do.
us.
Yeah.
And also getting rid of, I'm going to call it baggage, just because it's the stuff that was inside of you that you
Yeah.
really felt like was in the past, but you didn't really let it go yet.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't, yeah, because these people were still in my life. They still came around. There was nothing was ever discussed. Everything was in secret, but it still had an effect. I was still afraid of them. I was trying to be nice, I didn't want my mother to find out. So I was trying to, and so I was trying to protect my children. So in the end, it just all came out. And unfortunately, it was sad at the time. It broke my relationship with my family, but I had to put my children first. I had to protect them first.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we're all fine now, and they've learned what I said was the truth. At first, they didn't believe anything, but thankfully, it all turned out good. But a lot of I did that because I wanted the main thing. I don't want this cortisol running through my body. I don't want this because my negativity, my fear, all of this was causing all of this. That's possibly why I got cancer. But now looking back, I just say, and sometimes when I give a talk, I do say sometimes what happens to you, a terrible thing that happens to you, can turn out to be a blessing long term, because my life has completely turned around because of that. Before that, I lived in a bubble. I had my hairdressing in the village. The children went to school in the village. The shops were in the village. So I just lived in this little village, where now I travel the world with the company I'm with, and I've helped so many people, and my life is completely different,
Mm-hmm.
And so it turned around. What something terrible that happened or negative that happened turned around in the end for the better,
Yeah.
So
That's what it sounds like. And so is
yeah.
that all of this is what inspired you then to build a global business and use it as a platform to help other people?
Well, it kind of, what would you say, organically went into that.
Okay.
I joined the business first for health benefits.
Yeah.
And I knew that, yeah, I could help some people. And then I found my health was so good, and people noticed, people could see the difference. And, that some people joined the business, and it just started to grow from there. And then
Yeah.
I traveled to the one place that I love to travel to. I traveled to Bangladesh with a lady who joined the business from Bangladesh, and she was very much kept under the thumb and very kept down, and yet she was a brilliant business lady. So I went to Bangladesh with her, and we helped the company open up an office there, built a business there, and she couldn't believe the quality she found in herself. So then, when people join the business, they learn a lot about personal development or changing. That I think changing your mindset is a big thing, changing your belief system. And like my husband always says, it's won and lost in your mind. I meet people that have fantastic qualities, that could build a great business or could do many, many great things, and they don't have the belief in themselves. Even though you can see it, they don't have it in
Right.
themselves. So I always encourage people, look, take the belief I have in you and just go with that until you learn
So
to
you
have
get it.
faith in yourself.
Right.
I think belief in yourself is a big, big thing that can change major things in your life. Yeah.
Everything. And we see that through Hopeful Handbags as well, because even before that, what we work on with everyone is self-perception, what you think and feel about yourself, because that's the base of, like you just said, everything in your life. And sometimes if we have to pull it from somebody else first,
Yeah.
let us rah cheerlead you all the way till you believe it yourself, because
Yeah.
that's what it's about. So can you tell us a little bit about an orphanage for girls? what
Yeah,
what do you have to do with that? Like, how did that come about?
yeah. When I went to Bangladesh to start the office over there, the company that I'm with to start the business over there, I've noticed that there were a lot of little girls on the streets begging, even as young as 3 years of age.
Mm,
And at first, I'd stop and get out of the car and try and help, but then we were surrounded by lots of people in the same position.
mm-hmm.
So I was told never to get out of the car. It was too dangerous to stay in it, so I had to stay. And I said, surely, why are there so many girls? But they have orphanages for boys, but not for girls. So
Mm,
I met this man online who was a judge in Bangladesh, and he was a philanthropist. And I just messaged him about a legality I was trying to sort out. And then we got talking, and we became friends. And then I realized he had an orphanage for boys. So anyway, I went over to Bangladesh. I was speaking at a conference, a big rally thing, and I invited him along. Afterwards, we went for dinner, and he said to me, "I never mentioned I wanted an orphanage for girls, but I don't know how he discovered it." But he said, um, "I said I had a dream about you last night." He said, "My mother came to me in my dream, and my mother said." He calls me Brigid. My mother said, you help that lady, Brigid. Her heart smells sweet." And I thought, oh, my heart smells like, and he says, sweet.
oh, I
So
love it.
he said, you help her. So he says, I know in your heart you want an orphanage for girls. And I says, how do you know that? I says, because you asked the question, why aren't there orphanages for girls? He says, so you already did some research and you knew. And he said, so I said, yeah, I was trying, but I didn't get anywhere. And he said, I'll help you. And he said, I'm going to bring you to a meeting in the morning with all business people. It was a Rotary meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'm going to bring you and we're going to discuss you and we're all going to get together because and help you. We help financially people to do this. And I was using the business to help it financially. So I went to the meeting the next morning and they were fighting over who was giving me land. I'm giving her land I have land as far as the eye can see. I'll give her land. And I was just crying and saying, what's wrong with you? And I said, I can't believe you're so, you're doing this. But they said, the only thing is, I says, why don't you have orphanages for girls? As girls become pregnant, then there's other children. They're more vulnerable. They're more easily abused. So it's harder. So I said, oh my goodness. So I said, well, how do we get around that? See, I'll get women who their children have grown up and they'll help. We'll find volunteers. We do this,
Yeah.
So COVID, that was in 2019. He showed me the land. My husband is an architect. He was saying they drew it out on paper, what way it would go, like a longhouse, and how it'd be up on stilts. All of that. I was so excited, so excited. And I think I spent a whole day crying over it. I was saying, this is amazing, this is brilliant. And then there was another man said, I'll interview you on television. We have a lot of philanthropists in this country. They'll all help you. And I thought, oh, this is brilliant. And then I knew the man because he was a judge and he was a lawyer. And, he had, I knew I wouldn't be taken for a fool legally anyway. I wouldn't be. So, anyway, COVID came, there was lockdown. And I haven't been in Bangladesh since. But unfortunately, last year, the judge died. He actually got COVID, and a lot of people died in Bangladesh. He got COVID and died. So, but I had a lot of men who were boys, and they contacted me through social media and said they were in his orphanage, and he was so good, and they helped the mothers of the, he helped so many people. So unfortunately that happened. So I haven't gone over since. And then there's like a coup. They threw out there was a big fight in Bangladesh. A lot of the students fought for the government was corrupt, so they overturned the government, and there's a new government. So I can't go over till all that settled down. There was a lot of bloodshed, but I hope to get over this year.
But your journey, would you have ever thought you had that fourth baby?
Yeah.
And then this journey that you've had since then, finding out that you've got this diagnosis, and then all the things that you've been a part of and done, and the lives that you've changed literally all over the world because of that day and what you found out. And it's amazing to me. It's very inspirational. And I think these days, I think every day in life, right? And as I get older, I like to say I get wiser because I'm always learning.
Yeah.
Is that we realize that we can do anything if we surround ourselves with the right people and have the right mindset, which kind of goes together sometimes, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if we don't have the right mindset, we need to look inward, but we also need to look around and see who we're choosing to hang out with. If we could teach all kids that and they'd learn it sooner, I think we would be onto something. We could figure that out. But you've done such an amazing job doing that, and such an inspiration. And the chapter that you put in the book is, I know, only a little piece of what we're getting to learn about you, which I find is fascinating. Is there anything else that you want to share with us before we go for now?
I think I'd really say, I've had somebody say to me, well, I mean, you came through, your life is okay, your life. But I says, you don't know my life before. You don't know where I came from, or you don't know my life beforehand, or you don't know, like people, my children don't even know the severity of the abuse I came from. I have my three daughters are social workers, or in that field, that area. And they're very passionate about what they do. And, but they know something, but they don't know the severity of it. I think for people, no matter where or what they've come from, or where they can find the strength in themselves. And, that's what I'd love to really work on, helping people in that. But you can in the business as well do that, but to really help women, or, to find, like, what I really loved, it's like a fire burning inside me. When I went to Bangladesh, we were waiting to meet a doctor, and he sent a message to say, and it was in a school for deprived or children with disabilities. And we were to meet him to see how the products could help. And he sent a message to say he's in traffic. That's a big thing, traffic. So I said to the coordinator, I says, well, look, can I speak to one of the classes? What class would understand me speaking? And they says, we have the deaf community. And I says, well, can I speak to them? And they said yes, because they were treated like children that had no brain, if you know what I mean, that they were bigger disabilities than they have. So they got all them together, gorgeous boys and gorgeous girls, all together in a big auditorium or hall, and they all came together, and they're all wondering what's going on. And so I spoke, and somebody else did the sign language. And like I spoke, I says, even though you're deaf, you can do anything you want in life. You can look online. You can learn everything online. That's before AI. I said, if you want to be a pilot, if you want to, whatever you want to be. And I can't remember everything I said. But in the end, I could just see all their faces light up. Their faces changed from sadness into all this, they're just lit up, and they became people of importance, not just people of disability. They became people of importance, and they could see they were important, and I was saying, you're made in the image of the Creator who created the heavens and the earth. That's who you're made in his image. And they just couldn't believe it. And the girls, they're gorgeous looking girls, and they were all coming over. "Oh, you're so pretty." I said, "Me and Elle." I said, I'd love your skin. Their skin is so tanned and they're so gorgeous, and I'm so pink like a lobster. But I just loved that, and loved seeing people get a light bulb moment.
Yeah. And I think that's, I mean, you have a way of talking and you're engaging when you speak, because we can feel that through you, so that you know. And I'm sure that's what these kids feel, and people that you help every day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we don't know what we don't know. So by you putting that out there to these kids, that's nothing they've ever been asked or talked about. And, you know, with Hopefull Handbags, I'll just mention this, if people that follow us know that, you know, the whole reason why the organization was started was because my mother grew up in an abusive home. And there was a lot of abuse, not only for my grandmother, but for all the children. And so we don't only help the survivors, we help the children with what you're saying. And so, gosh, you're such an inspiration. I mean, we'll be saying, go listen to Brigid. Because, you know, we need to give them their spark back, the spark they were born with, of I can do absolutely anything.
Yeah.
And you just have, you exude out that energy. So I'm sure you've been told that before, but I'm just going to tell you
Thank you
again.
very much. Thank you.
So I can see, and you have so much more left that you're going to do on this earth, that I can't wait to follow it. Now that I know you and know, you know, I mean, I feel so blessed too, because I've got to meet so many amazing women through this.
Yeah.
And we're all put together for a reason. I truly believe that. I believe God puts everybody together for a reason.
Yeah.
And I've been very inspired by you. So anybody,
thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you so much for being here. Anybody that wants to know more about Brigid, you could go to our website, hopefullhandbags.org. Now look, that's 2 L's, like full of hope, hopefullhandbags.org, and click on her picture or her name, and it'll bring you to another page. It'll have her bio and any ways that you can get in touch with Brigid. If you have any questions or want to see what she does, I mean, we'll have all of the information is there, so you can find her, as well as pre-order the digital copy and the book. You can do that now. Go ahead on pre-order. You're going to want to really dig into Brigid's story and all the other women's stories that are on here. So thank you so much, Brigid, for being here, and I can't wait to hear more about you.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Catherine. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.